guys, welcome back to our neck of the woods. Last night I went ahead and got all the braces off. It is Friday, so it's been what, 4 days now that the concrete's been hardening. We got all the window bracing out and everything too, and today we're going ahead and having the sand thrown in right now. Luckily the ground has been hard for the last 4 days. There's been no rain at all. So this time the slinger truck can actually back up right to the front of the house, and right now he's throwing it down into the basement. And the reason why we chose that is because we are going to have a vapor barrier underneath of our 2-inch foam, and I didn't want more stone potentially causing any punctures through the vapor barrier. Obviously we used 57 round. That would pretty much be impossible. Sand is cheaper per ton than stone, but because it fills in more cracks and crevices, you may end up having to use more of it, even though it's cheaper per yard. So we'll see. But we need about 2 to 3 inches all the way around inside of the basement. So I got 20 tons right now. Calculation says I needed about 24. They know this, so we're gonna spread 20 right now since that's what the truck can carry. And we'll see where we're at. If I need another 4 ton, then we'll go ahead and order another 4 ton to be slung into the basement. So right now he's doing a pretty good job bringing all the way back up to the basement that he can pitch up and down and left and right. So that should save some back-breaking work here on pushing all this sand around. But we'll stop back in and see what else we need to do today. He's just about finished up delivering the sand. The other thing that we need to do today is tomorrow I want to go ahead and rent an industrial paint sprayer to go ahead and put on our waterproofing. If you can see down here, we've already started kind of pulling back the fabric that's kind of laid up here on the footer. We need to pull that back, clean it all up, get some spilled concrete off of it, and then hopefully this can dry out a little bit more, because the footer's kind of wet because the fabric, I think, is picking up the water, soaking it in, putting it up here. We have to get that off there and get that dry. It should be another hot and dry day tomorrow. So once we get all the footer cleared today, then we can go ahead and spray down on the footer and then start spraying up the wall for the waterproofing. So I'll go ahead and rent that tomorrow morning. Hopefully we can get the footer cleaned off easily enough, and hopefully by tomorrow morning it looks dry. If not, the rub our wall recommended. You can even buy like a mini blowtorch and just kind of move it on the top of the concrete a little bit. You just want it as dry as possible. We're also going to have to pull back a little bit of the spray foam that's sprayed that first block to the actual concrete of the footer. And well, probably the first thing we'll do is take that 5-gallon bucket of mastic that you're supposed to use for large cracks and everything, and I'll go ahead and spatula in it that corner where the foam block comes down and meets the footer. We'll put all that mastic in there and really seal it in there. Then tomorrow we'll spray the rubberized coating on the footer and up the wall, and that should make a nice tight impervious waterproof seal along that bottom footer and the wall. So wish me luck, because this back wall where the pumper truck wasn't long enough, there is a ton of concrete that needs broken up, and we got to pull all that back so I can get to that footer and basement wall seam. All right, so we got the footer all cleaned off. Basically, we just peeled back the geotech wrap. We went ahead and cleaned up the foam, brushed it off, and then we got the leaf bowler and blew it all off. So we'll probably have to do this a couple more times, especially in here where there was kind of mud that fell in. And again, that geotech fabric was kind of wicking up water and putting it onto the footer. So this is going to have to dry out, and the sun is already past this point, so the sun's only going to hit this probably for 20 minutes a day. So hopefully by tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, that'll be dry enough. We'll leaf blow it a few more times, and then we'll go ahead and start with the mastic down around the corners, and then we'll go ahead and spray foam. And then obviously the mastic is for stuff like that. That's where you can see separations that happened during the pour. That one's going all the way to the concrete, and that thing's probably a ½ an inch wide. So mastic's gonna have to be put in there and really troweled on. That way we can go ahead and spray the waterproofing on. Now, some of you are gonna ask, why the heck are you spraying the garage? Obviously, if water got into the garage through anywhere below that, it's not gonna hurt the garage, since there's stone, sand, foam, and then concrete pour. So the reason why I'm doing that is because there is no break in the wall at these corners right here where the garage and the house meet. So if I stop spraying right there, the problem is that can still get wet in there. And Fox Blocks uses open cell foam. If you're not familiar, open cell foam is actually like little cells, like of any organism. They're round and they touch each other, but there's gaps where you've got one circle touching another circle, because obviously circles can't make a flush touch with each other. So they're a lot more open. It's cheaper. Its R value isn't as high as closed cell foam. Closed cell foam really doesn't absorb water. So because open cell can absorb water, if I just stopped that waterproofing abruptly, any water that gets on the garage foam can get in it and then start working its way this way behind the waterproofing. And of course, I don't want water coming in from this way, getting in there, and then going in kind of at an angle towards the house. So the entire envelope needs one solid spray. So that way it's all enclosed and there's no penetration points for water. So the foam for the garage and for the basement, the 2 inches, that is a closed cell foam. That technically could be even used as a vapor barrier. But again, we laid that sand. We're still going to put a 6 mil vapor barrier down. There's enough of an overlap that I don't have to tape the seam or anything. But then we can lay that 2 inches of closed cell rigid foam down on the ground, and that's where the PEX tubing will be attached to, and then the concrete slab can be poured on that. So right now we're going to let that dry out a little bit more, clean it up a little bit more, and then we'll probably start getting into the basement, and we'll start spreading out that that sand. I did go and buy a come-along rake to move that sand. It's basically a concrete rake. And we went ahead back to Ohio Rental, and we picked up a compactor. So the question is, one, that's 200 pounds. I don't think I'm going to be able to get that down into the basement by myself. Might have to wait till tomorrow if my dad comes out, or maybe Sunday if he comes out. Then we'll get it through the basement window and get it down in there, and then we'll really compact that sand. Again, my calculations are I am I think 4 tons short to fill the basement. So we'll start in one corner, get the sand built all the way up, compact it, and then kind of work our way towards the other side. If we run out of sand, we know that we need 4 more tons. But hopefully that compactor isn't too heavy to get down in there and out, but that'll really give us a nice firm base to put our foam on, and then that way we don't have to worry about a lot of cracking for the concrete slab when it's poured. I did go ahead and get the verifications on the concrete that we're going to be using. We're not going to use rebar in anything, and I decided to change that even for the garage. The basement's going to get a 3,500 PSI with a fiber mesh mix. There's a specific brand that Buckeye says that they use, but we're going to use that in the basement, and in the garage we're going to use a 4,500 PSI, 5 inches thick, also with that brand fiber mesh. And then he's also says there's a different type of mix added into it, and basically he talked me into it because he's had a pole barn built, and he did a pole barn for his son, and both of those have seen trucks in there that are, he called it a Ford 5500. I'm going to assume that's got to be a 5, 6, 7, 8,000 pound truck or something, and there's a lift in there. So 5 inches is perfect that I can go ahead and put a lift in my garage also, bolt it down to the ground once the concrete slab is done, and then I shouldn't have any problem driving big heavy vehicles on it, putting a lift in there, since again he said that's what he's used in those pole barns, and they've been there for years without any cracking. So hopefully we can get away with not having cracking and no rebar, and this specific brand of fiber mesh will work for what we need to. So we're gonna get back at it. We'll set the GoPro up, we'll start moving some sand, and then hopefully tomorrow we'll be ready for paint. It's the next day. We're on our way back home right now with the paint sprayer. We just went and picked it up from the rental place. It's not bad, I don't think. It's about $105, and we get it for the whole weekend. This paint sprayer is a $3,000 paint sprayer online, so it's, I think, one of the most heavy duty. So it'll spray this thick rubber coating. It says online it can spray up to like a 0.31 inch tip, so that's pretty good on pump size. That can push that out. The rubber wall says it only needs a 0.21 to 0.25 size tip. Unfortunately, this place doesn't have that type of paint getting sprayed all the time, so they did not have that tip in stock. So about 2-3 days ago, I ordered a 0.21 offline, and it fits now. I think we had to buy a different tip holder than what comes with the gun. They didn't like lock in the same way as what they have, so there was another $30 there. So $30 for the tip and like $30 for the tip holder. So we'll be into this rental for about like 160 bucks, but it's better than $3,000 or going out and buying a smaller unit at like Home Depot or Lowe's or something, where they're anywhere from $900 to like $1,500 for a smaller size. So hopefully this works out, but right now we're going to go ahead and clean everything up one last time. We're going to put mastic on all of the joints, any cracks, and down and along that seam where the ICF meets the footer. So we got some putty knives, and we're going to go ahead and do that, let it dry, and then we'll start spraying, and hopefully this works out okay. The putty knife was definitely taking a long time doing it this way. So in the background there, I went and grabbed a Ziploc baggie and cut the corner off. That way we could load the mastic from a 5-gallon bucket into the Ziploc baggie, and then I could kind of squish it out like a sausage gun or like a caulking gun, and then Aaron could just come on by with the putty knife and push it in a little bit harder. We'll have to see how well this sets tomorrow. If you notice that where the blocks come together, it's built up a little bit more as opposed to where just the block faces. The cracks were a little bit bigger in some spots where we didn't put mastic, or even if there was some, I decided to hit it a little bit harder. Whether it was going horizontal or vertical, I just kind of turned the sprayer so the spray pattern would fill in that crack. It definitely built it up. It seemed like it worked really well. This stuff is almost impossible to run. Even if you leave it there for 3, 4, 5 seconds, the stuff just does not run. It just goes on like rubber. So in the morning, we'll take a look-see at it, and hopefully it's all hard and dried, because right now the built-up spots, it's definitely still a little bit soft. It will build an outer coating, like kind of a shell to it, and then it'll stay more liquid underneath of that. Hopefully within 24 to 48 hours, though, it'll all be hard, rock solid, and we can go ahead and put up our dimple membrane and finish this. And finally, we can start to backfill, because I am tired of being in this trench and doing this back-breaking work. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. We're going to wrap it up here. Tomorrow we'll start another video going over that, and the dimple membrane and the backfill from there. But please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and we will see you all next time.